Oh yeah, I can just search medium. Can you imagine? Deeplearning.ai. I don't believe in island life, you guys. Like, as much as you believe in island lives, Prospero people, I don't. I guess depends on when, where, and when. Yes, where and when, actually. But this kind of sounds cute. Brum, brum, brum. Good materials over there. Oof. I wish I could give you some thoughts on Elon Musk, but I don't think we're ready yet. Yeah.
The following is a conversation with Ray Dalio, his second time on the podcast. He is a legendary investor, If you were to look at the American nation, the American empire, the trajectory is looking into the future, given these measures, what is the trajectory that leads to the collapse of the American empire based on these measures? What are the concerning indicators? And if
It's gonna be cute. You know, the art of categorizing things.
But right when I was gone, which was terribly difficult, but on the whole situation. But basically, what happens is your intestine, when you get a certain virus, will double back on itself and envelop itself. So part of your intestine will be sucked into the other part of the intestine. So it like folds over into itself. And it's like supposed to be excruciating pain. I have a 6-year-old and she was in terrible pain, just like immediately. And And so it really, really freaked everybody out. And of course, she went to the emergency room and everything got self-resolved, thankfully, but it was after like 18 hours of excruciating pain. And a Klein bottle is exactly kind of that. It's like a bottle that like goes out of itself. It's hard to describe it. You have to kind of see it. But a Klein bottle goes out of itself and back into itself. It's like a torus in a way, but it's a Klein bottle. Or sometimes you can see what's called a Mobius strip. Let's say you take a piece of paper, you cut it out, have it be long like this, and instead of taping it into a circle so you can make like a little wrist cuff like you do in elementary school, you take it and you twist it, and then you tape it, right? That's a Mobius strip. And Escher is someone who used these concepts a lot. If you like Escher's art, where everything seems kind of like upside down. Wait, someone's walking up this way, but they're actually coming down that way. That's actually Klein-oriented art or Mobius-oriented art. What I see our universe is exactly that. I see it as we all have a unique number identifier. We all do. You could call it astrology. You could call it numerology. You could call it the combination of all of these things. There's a certain frequency that happens at the time of our birth. And that number, and if you don't know your number, find your number because you got a number.
Mine
That
is a master
number has a reciprocal value.
Guys,
it's 1 over
please.
X value. So 1 over that number, we're all just divisions of 1 at the end of the day. It has a reciprocal value that has a very, very long repetitive cycle embedded within it, a period, right? So I'm thinking, I'm good at manifesting. I'm good at abundance. I'm good at all these things. I know how to exert my willpower. Maybe I'm not really so good at it after all. It was just part of when the time I was born determined it.
This is that conversation between fate and destiny versus actual free will. Because I spent most of my early, let's say, spiritual awakening believing in this idea, we create our reality. We create it in every moment. And so if I was thinking of it as, I describe this like, imagine you had an infinite number of moving sidewalks, the kind you have in an airport. And you have this infinite number of moving sidewalks. And it starts from one that is basically not moving at all to slowly speeding up, all the way down to this really rapid. For me, that was what I saw for the timelines of what's possible for my life. And every time I would have an elevation of consciousness and I would make different choices, I would be jumping from the moving sidewalk that I was on to a different moving sidewalk that was moving faster, because with elevated consciousness, meaning more pattern recognition in our minds, we're actually processing more data, right? Constantly. And so there's more moving in us at any given time. And so it became something where I said, well, if I'm in a higher frequency of love and light, then I'm actually on this sidewalk here. But the moment that I drop into eating really bad food or making bad decisions about how I use my time or whatever, I drop down to a lower timeline. Through conversations with you, you've had me questioning whether or not we actually create our reality at all, or if at the moment of our birth, we get that number that dictates our entire life. And I'm curious if you can speak to, I think that it triggers a lot of people. I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and they're triggered by the idea that we don't actually have control of where our life is going. And it's a paradox in a lot of ways. Because I could say, well, I'm just going to jump out of this window right now and end this whole thing. But the argument would then be that because of when I was born and where I was born and my astrology and that number, that was always predetermined that was going to happen. And so I'm curious if you can speak to your perspective on that.
Sure. So people ask me all the time, do you believe in free will? The answer is yes. They also ask, do you believe in destiny? And the answer is also yes. How do I reconcile these two? Well, what if what we term as destiny is really just the free will of our higher self? And that's us. So let's say that we want to subject ourselves into a game. We want to create a game environment. And this game environment, we want to limit ourselves. We're not going to give total access to all of our abilities and
It doesn't provide any
infinitude,
grants. What are you talking
we're not
about?
going to do that because that wouldn't be a fun game, right? So what you would do is you would find a way to put a limiter or a filter around an aspect of you, because you want to ultimately experience as many experiences as you possibly can. If you knew that there was no way to really die and you were going into a game environment, I'd be like, hey, how'd you die last time? Oh, dude, I put on a squirrel suit and I hit that tree that they almost always hit, right? They almost hit it, but they don't hit it, but I actually hit it to see what it'd be like. Oh, wow. After a few times, I'd be like, okay, I want to die this time. I want to die having sex. Yeah. Like someone I really love. You do that probably 10 times, be like, okay, that's cool. Let's do another one now. Let's have an epic way to die, right? Let's go out in a ball of flames. You test out so many different ways. If you knew that there was a limit on the pain, and if you knew that you basically would never die. And it's kind of funny because that was embodied in a film that was called Groundhog Day, right? Where Bill Murray, if you ever saw it, like at a certain point after he kept living the same day over and over and over again, he finally was like, okay, I'm just gonna die like all these different ways. And the next morning he keeps waking up again, right? In the same place. And like, okay, what am I gonna do today? Because it gets kind of boring. What if we separate ourselves into two aspects? And the way we create this world is we say, I'm going to take the conscious mind and call this Robert. Okay, this is going to be Robert. He's going to be born on this date. And his life is actually predetermined because I'm making this conscious decision, right, in the context of my higher self, not in my current context. So these are all the things I'm choosing for this life. There's a menu. I'm choosing all the experiences. I want him to experience betrayal because actually that's going to teach him unconditional love, right? I want him to go through and feel these insecurities in his life because that's going to teach him how to transcend.
So you're picking the menu design. You're writing the script, and then your conscious mind, which is Robert Edward Grant, is playing that script out.
Yep. But and then there's a subconscious aspect to me, which becomes my outside life experience. But everything on the outside of us. So that becomes a reflection back. It's my 1 over X. This is X. This is my 1 over X. And there's a repetition cycle until I finally learn in this life. That's the aim of the exercise, the game. The game really only has one purpose, but there are myriad facets of that purpose. That is to learn how to love and how to be loved in return.
Do you believe that you can get so in tune, and we'll call it in alignment with your higher self, that you develop the ability, like Neo in the Matrix, to actually shift the script that's been written? So let's say your higher self is actually writing this and saying, okay, Robert's going to go and live this out. But at a certain point, can you actually be living as your higher self, embodied or in union with your higher self, to the point where everything that script was written, you go, I'm not going to play that script out anymore? Do you believe that that's possible? Or is it even that would imply somehow that it's not pre-written?
Well, I mean, look, the construct of time is such a critical aspect of this Matrix game.
All right, familia, quick pause in the episode.
Kind of like all of us are all over it, you know? Way too all over it. Why am I not even able to...
Observing. And this process does not have to take as long as mine did, and that's why I've made this course. Make sure that
on it, I'll come back to it when I want to come back to it. But if there's a clock on it, then all of a sudden I got to finish this by the time time runs out, because time is always running out, right? But which is also a fallacy. Time doesn't really run out. another Mobius strip, another Klein bottle. But the point that I'm making is that yes, we are making this choice like a menu in a context where there is no time, where everything is entangled. And then we create a construct of separation and duality by separating this.
Let's go.
Oh, Natalia, what's up?
Yay. Yay, I'm first time in your meeting, so I'm excited. I really love the setup that you made. You're really winning it here. Don't make me go on Discord to join your community. It's always a nice idea.
We're on Discord too, but yeah, the channels are nice because I mean that was the one fallback of Telegram was that you could get once you get beyond like 100 members, it just gets way too messy.
Yeah. How active
Like,
is your
you'll have, like,
Discord?
4 conversations going on at one time. It's impossible to keep track of them.
It's true. But how active is your Discord? Do you think Discord is gonna be like the thing still with this beautiful setup
Well-
that Telegram has?
Well, obviously Discord is a lot more woke and like they do a lot more canceling. Telegram is obviously I don't want to say it's anti-woke, but it's anti-cancel.
And by saying woke, what do you mean in terms of when you say it in the same sentence as canceling?
It's just like, you know, in America, the left, the Democrats, just going on their moral crusades.
Okay.
Like canceling, like blocking accounts, like removing servers.
Oh, even removing whole servers. That's wow. That's
Yeah.
huge. Got
I
it.
mean, it's the responsibility if like they host the content, then there's like this weird responsibility to it. I forget what that whole concept is, but I know like there's certain mediums that they're not responsible for what passes through their content. So like Facebook has that, I think. Like they waive liability over the content on Facebook, but I don't know. But we obviously know that the algorithms and all the big central platforms are just controlled.
Totally. Yeah, I think again, like I mean, I'm very bullish on Telegram. I don't know why. It's just I have this deep feeling inside of me that Telegram will be something much bigger.
Telegram, yeah, I mean, Telegram's nice. I like the groups. I mean, it has so many features. It's such a good product. Like, it's awesome to use. And obviously, they don't. It's different because it's not like there's no community feed. It's just individual silos of messengers, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and you can customize your experience.
It's like refreshing from being on like all the other social medias with their infinity feeds: Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook.
What's your vision with this call today?
Well, it's the lounge first and foremost, so it's just kind of like fellowship and to hang with people that are into Lotus. My girlfriend just joined. Yay!
Hi, Jade.
But yeah, but if you go to let's see, if you like click the Give Lotus icon at the very top, and then you'll see like these horizontal folder names. So there's members, media, files, links, music. But music has all the lounges we've done, and so we've done over 36, and that's 36 topics. So we're starting to run out of topics. So sometimes we'll just get on and start talking, and then, whatever, we fixate on, we'll just like dedicate the session to that.
Tell me about your community. What is the Give Lotus standing for?
Well, the main driver is Stamp, which is a decentralized private messaging protocol, and Lotus is what fuels it. So, like, in order to send messages or post content, you have to have Lotus to do it. So, like, in order to get into my inbox, you need Lotus. Oh my gosh, it's Matt from the dead. Where have you been?
Hello. Been busy, brah.
I figured you were. Your absence was felt, though.
Oh, no. Some good meetings, huh?
Natalia just joined. She's new here. We were on that was like a unconference. What was it called?
Yeah, I don't think there was a name for it, which is cute. I think sometimes when you don't name something, it really works as well. It was a series of Telegram events that are focused on decentralized network states and decentralized identity and all these places like Palau and other places that allow you to register e-residency. Quite interesting.
Yeah, vehicles to escape the first
reality.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, escape the surveillance state. It's basically what it seems like, and the only way to do it is to basically band together with like minds. I mean, have you read Network State, Natalia?
Yeah, and I don't think there's any other book that is like that. Balazs is, of course, writing, and what Vitalik's is writing, but there's just no that many leaders thought leaders in that space. I think there's opportunity there.
Well, it's funny because I feel like there's both too many thought leaders, like,
right,
but they're just not good.
Right? What do you think that is not making them that good?
Well, it's, if you think about the space in crypto, like, what is it centered on?
Games?
I mean,
game theory and Bitcoin white paper?
Like, what is, if you had to pick one thing that the community is focused on, what is it?
Decentralization. Matthew?
But decentralizing what?
Oh, their focus is more so decentralizing just the blockchain.
But why?
Right.
For the sake of decentralization.
Well, BTC, I think it is for the sake of decentralization, but like obviously there's a reason for the decentralization.
Well, yeah.
I mean, basically, what I'm getting at is that it's, the movement before Bitcoin was Liberty Dollar, and it had a central point of failure and got shut down. So it's like decentralization is a necessary, quality for it to be immune against getting shut down. But
so decentralizing the issuance of money.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just hard because all the land is conquered. So right. Where we're at now is it's a battle for people's attention, just pure, it's a pure attention play.
Yep.
Like, because there's no more land to be conquered and fought and won, so now it's a full front for battle, for conquering the mind.
The mind and what we call metaverse.
There's value.
I heard what Natalia said. I didn't hear what you said, man.
I said where there's attention, there's value.
Yeah, no, it's a you're demonstrating that you you're valuing it. I don't want to, maybe not necessarily value, but it's important. If you're paying
Well,
attention
people-
to something, you're signaling that it's important to you in
Valuable
some
to you.
form or another.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, I wouldn't say that, you know, paying attention to a train wreck is valuable. I would say it's important though.
Well, it's the values in the eye of the beholder, huh?
Yeah.
So like a train wreck is valuable because it's exciting.
and yeah, just tragic.
Yeah, it's tragic too.
Yeah, but we were actually getting together a little while ago to try and come up with a one commandment to get onto the network state site, get listed. But
I think we did that too. We came up with a pretty good commandment.
did someone go through with it? And
I don't know
actually,
if it was
like,
actually
submit it?
submitted, but I remember
mean,
we went through the work.
We did, but it's just like it never seems to be a satisfactory like one command. Like I think it basically was like something about questioning everything or questioning
Yeah.
authority, something about
Yeah.
truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, Natalia was asking about like Lotus.
Yeah, I'm going on
I
the
just jumped
website,
straight into Stamp.
trying to figure it out. What you guys are offering? What's the value? I like you already.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's. I mean, Lotus was created for Stamp, which is a messaging protocol,
Mhm.
but it has a whole host of other features on the blockchain, including a. It's meant to be a decentralized stablecoin, like algorithmic stablecoin.
Yeah,
So it's
somewhat
pseudo
algorithmic,
pseudo
somewhat
stable.
yeah.
So it's not, because typically people think of stable coin as like, you know,
One-to-one
Tether or
dollar.
whatever, but
Yeah.
Lotus has a
think,
mechanism to basically peg against whatever the cost of energy is, roughly, because Lotus is directly, the amount of Lotus emitted is directly tied to the amount of hash power, and hash power represents electricity burned. So
Interesting.
Power also represents attention.
So
If you're mining Lotus, you're giving it attention, therefore giving it value.
yeah, and this is where it's tough, because like just like talking about money is tough. It touches so many things and has so many different aspects to it that it's like it's oftentimes it's like yes and it's not like, you know, just one thing.
I think really the big value proposition was outlined really well by Shama in his Truth Engine article that he wrote a couple months ago on the Give Lotus blog.
Yeah.
And like you had mentioned, Stamp, it is the secure messenger, but it also enables a whole host of possibilities, namely with being able to burn Lotus as a show of value, to tie a monetary unit to the value of any particular piece of content.
So basically posts, there's a feed, and then the feed is ranked by the amount of Lotus attached to it. So you can vote up or down on posts. So if you don't like a post, you can downvote it, and if you like it, you can upvote it. So that's how the feed is comprised. So it's not from an algorithm like a Twitter algorithm or Facebook algorithm. It's basically fueled by the community.
Yep, community curated.
And how
But
many
I feel
people?
I feel like this is like information overload for Natalia.
No. Like, look, I'm information overload is like sex to me. I love it. So.
All right, you're in the right place then. You got a lot of information.
Yeah. So wait. So how many people are in your community that are active, or like who are the people really in the community?
I mean, there's a lot that pop in and out. Like, I'd probably say there's been like 20 plus contributors, maybe potentially more, but there's like a core group of like, 8 of us?
Yeah.
8 to 10. Yeah. So yeah, and I kind of host and run this weekly lounge to kind of like keep the spirit alive and hang out and catch up and move things forward. And then eventually, I've been saying this for like the last like, I don't know, however many months, that I'll host these onto a podcast, but editing these down is quite the task, so I haven't tackled that yet.
I think a lot of the reason for popping in and out that a lot of people do is just because Stamp is still very alpha software. Still a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Still a lot of changes pending on both the front end and the back end.
Yeah, so Stamp is a messaging protocol like email, but in order to send messages, you have to attach like crypto to it. Whereas obviously email, you can just spam to your heart's content and it costs like nothing. So even just making it so that like one message is 1 cent, even just 1 cent, it would reduce spam like gigantic amount. But you can also toggle your inbox so that like you can have a paywall for your inbox essentially. I don't think that's built out yet, but I know it's capable.
Yeah, I see. That's cool. It's like kind of see the parallels to the idea that we should pay more for energy spent and like all the flights and all the stuff that we do to the environment. And I still do question that. I wonder if it's possible to not use money, but rather social credit, whatever that is. I mean, I don't want it to go too into a very technocratical, intense scenario, but I wonder what is the other alternative to what we call money or even crypto that can be used for that to avoid spam, to
Like,
avoid information
to
overload.
avoid spam.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically it's just up how it gets controlled is, all the email provider, at least on emails, they, have criteria they have their own internal reputation score, right? So like there's this whole concept of like, if you're starting like a newsletter, you need to warm up your email account to like signal to Google or Gmail that it's actually a real account and not a spam account. But it's always this huge cat and mouse game between like, what gets filtered out as spam and what doesn't. So like it spams out certain emojis, certain like phrases. So like there's like whole communities dedicated to like figuring it out.
Yeah, and I think there is no consensus or a general rule book for people to see what spam or to decide what spam is and what spam is not. And then there is no rule book for AI and like, chat bots and stuff like that. Like there's no way to even figure out if this is a real person or not, even though we have all these captchas and stuff like that. AI is getting smarter. So
yeah,
it's like we're kind of fighting with ourselves.
That's where like basically Lotus kind of acts like a captcha. Like, oh, you have some Lotus, that means you're probably like a real person and had to have been given it from someone or mined
I see.
So it's like you had to like earn it somehow, some way, like maybe not necessarily earn it, but like you were given it
for some reason or another.
It is basically like earning, because in order to be given it, you have to do something that somebody else finds valuable in order for them to give it to you, and then mining it costs energy, which costs money.
Yeah, so like if
you have to sacrifice or at least put in something in order to get Lotus out of it.
Yeah, so if you want to spam the network, you have to buy Lotus or mine it, or be given it. But like, you know, spammers are probably not going to be given a lot of Lotus, so they would have to resort to mining it. But
I see. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the it's digital sovereignty, basically. It's tools for digital sovereignty. Like nobody can. It's like a self-evident, inalienable right for me to use this open source software and message people, and like there's nothing that anyone can do about it except for, I guess, threaten.
Yeah, basically, coerce.
Good times. I like what I'm seeing here, or hearing rather. I think it's like we're all developing these concepts, and right now is like almost this incubation time for the ecosystem on who comes up with the most robust concepts for us to slide into, as I believe that things are gonna go down before they're gonna get basically rebuilt. So I see things really kind of shattering. Something's just not working out with with what we saw in 2022. Like crash there, crash here, deep crash, and then there's gonna be something else, and then we'll be like, okay, I guess we just need to find consensus among each other, among all the millions of people, not that many, but millions of people that are building these technologies. And I believe there will be one wallet, there will be one system of reputation, and all these different decentralized applications of it. Maybe I'm too imaginary, like maybe we cannot have just one thing, but we did with Google and Facebook, so why not create a good guys Googles and Facebooks of the Web3?
Yep, and that's what Lotus is actually intended to do. With the token, and then with the cash stamp stuff.
Communications has always been like one of the most vital things for coordinating and engaging in war, right? Like if you cut off the enemy's communications to one another, like if you keep them from being able to communicate, like you basically won. And also, like if you can compromise like their communications, meaning you can like see it, like Enigma, where Turing broke the Germans' cryptography, then there's that as well. But I mean, we have such sophisticated tools now, but I mean, the CIA is tricky. Like, I think Tobias was on here 2 weeks ago and was talking about how part of what Snowden leaked was that they had a back door to this really popular encryption software. So it may have been encrypted for everyone else but the CIA, because it wasn't a random generator that it was encrypting it. And it was open source, and I guess nobody caught it. So like that's kind of the danger of I don't know, just not being able to know anything. And so I think the ultimate conclusion from that conversation was like, yeah, basically base assumption, just assume everything is not private.
Absolutely. Look, I believe that whenever I'm turning on a screen, or actually whenever not turning on a screen, but anyway, when I have technologies around me, my voice, location, everything is seen, and it's definitely tracked. And it's also tracked when I use my screen, and it's almost like I see it as screen recording. You know, like think of it, like you have screen recording on all your devices all the time. And that's posted on your very popular, media channel that will basically directly influence your reputation. In the case of basically singularity that we're going towards, so it's going to be recorded. It's recorded in the past, and it's recording right now.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, we were talking about how certain emails have, like, Google has a reputation score, and they use that to filter out emails. But like so they have an internal reputation score. I can see the government having an internal reputation score on every single one of their constituents, citizens, slaves, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. Like I've seen it in my own, experiences, experimenting, pushing boundaries in communications, just to study technologies that I'm exposed to. So I have a lot of examples of, just not being crazy, just really seeing how it works, not even being able to share it with people, because when I do share it with people, people really like assuming that I'm making things up and connecting the dots in a way that is too, conspiracy theory.
Being schizophrenic.
Right, exactly. Yeah, really, people recommend me, going to a new therapist because my old therapist is not doing the job, because of the kind of connections I make in my mind.
Yeah, I mean that's such a slippery accusation, because it's like, if you can get everyone to think that you're crazy, then anything you say to the contrary, everything you say is dismissed, right?
Yeah, you lose credibility very quickly.
Yeah, back to that social score, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, look, we corporations, like publicly traded corporations, have the ESG score. That's basically a social credit score for companies. Like where we're headed is a digital servitude, like a digital dystopia. And I know you know this. Everyone here knows it, and that's kind of why we're here, is to protect our sovereignty digitally, to have the freedom to communicate and also transfer value to one another. When eventually, I don't know when, but eventually they're going to demonize cash and get rid of it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's already been done in several countries abroad. India comes to mind. That was like the biggest example. Country of 1 billion people. Like,
yeah, they just outright banned notes, certain denominations.
Yeah, Andreas Antonopoulos was like sounding the horn on that, and like I forget where I read it, but like, yeah, it was a whole campaign about dark money. And it's like, oh, we need to get rid of cash because all the, wealthy elite, like terrible capitalists, like they with cash they evade taxes. So we need to have this digital currency, get rid of this dark money to make them pay their fair share. And it's just like, yeah, even in that event, I think it's gonna be the poorest people that lose out on that deal. Like, the rich always find a way to shelter their wealth. Like, that's just empirical. You see it everywhere.
Yeah. Well, it's like those systems are set up in order to enable them to do that.
So, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, anyway.
Go and imagine there's one world government, okay? And we as technologists can propose, because we do have a power as technologists, okay? We can propose a scale technocracy where people can go completely offline, not, engage with any of this, live in certain environments where there are no cell towers, stuff like that. And there will be obviously like the other point of or other side of that scale, which is like you're in singularity. AI is completely directing your actions. I think right now we're in the middle. Actually, we're kind of in the middle. If we really see all the way into the other scale, of AI controlling us, we're already also testing these things. So do you think it will be possible to create that opportunity for people to choose where they would like to be? I think I'd like to be on like 33% maybe day to day, like it was in early 2000s maybe.
Yeah, I think the ideal is to get people back engaged in their local communities and in real life. Like, get them off of cable news, get them off of social media, and get them back into their communities. And I mean, I think church is a good vehicle for that. I used to be a staunch militant atheist and hated the church, but because there's tons of enterprising, corrupt, evil churches, but there's also extremely good ones that actually are feeding the poor, feeding the widows, the orphans, the hungry, whatever, and are actually like shepherding and looking after their local communities. Obviously it's a way to congregate. Like when people would settle, I mean, particularly like the Puritans, like one of the first things they do is raise up a church building, and like they would keep the Sundays sacred to not work and come and hang out with everybody. And it's like, man, imagine what life would be like if that was the case. I don't know. It would be a lot better in my opinion. But I think we're too far gone. We're obviously way too fractured and industrialized or whatever. But within that within the industrial complex, you can have your local communities and tribes and weather the coming storms.
Yeah, I think that like that is necessary, and it's also like what's in our future. But also, I don't think that the technology is ever going to go away, because like technology in itself is just a tool to achieve a certain end goal. And right now, like the one world government, like the globalists and all them, they're trying to use the technology towards enslavement. And really, what we ought to be doing is to be using it for enhancing freedom and to enable local community gathering and getting people back in touch with each other instead of all these different platforms like Facebook and Twitter further dividing people and not really allowing you to expand your
Yeah, not allowing you to focus on your attention on the things that matter. Like, what are they feeding you in the feed, like on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram? Like, they're feeding you whatever will capture your attention so they can sell to advertisers. Obviously, we all know this. And so obviously the algorithms will sometimes select for, like, people have shown like the Snapchat and like Instagram algorithms, like just pure unadulterated bait, like girls like in slim bikinis, like titties out, like ass out. It's just like Instagram. Someone took a screenshot of like the feed. He's like, I just started my Instagram account and this is what it's showing me. It's like all this like desperate like nonsense. It's a race to the bottom is what it is. Like everyone's doing the most desperate upon desperate upon desperate things to get your attention. And like we're seeing the finality of it with TikTok. Like with like and look at the YouTube thumbnails. Like everyone has like the shocked like O face with like big bold letters like and it's just like, talk about information and sensory overload. It's like
Well, that's not the kind of sex I
it's
prefer. Yeah.
yeah, it's not ideal.
And
Not ideal.
it's really making us more stupid. I'm always thinking about like how can I become smarter and better and just better person, human being. And
Yeah.
when I go online
Well,
specifically to like these social networks, I feel like I'm becoming more stupid and not even more addicted because I can't control myself. Just don't want to come back there.
yeah. Well, I mean, this is the essence of powerful tools, right? Like powerful tools in the hands of a competent person will generate tons of value. But a powerful tool in the hands of someone who's not competent and not able to handle it will be extremely destructive. So this is what we're kind of seeing is that we're seeing like, you know, it's the Pareto principle. There's like 20% of people that are like using it to just like create like super beneficially, and then there's 80% of people that are just getting eaten alive by social media.
Wow.
And it's a tough issue to solve. Like, and I mean, Stamp is an attempt to try and solve that, to have a digital, I guess, a digital social media that has a feed that's not optimized for capturing your attention at whatever cost, right?
When did Stamp
It's not a
appear?
company. It's not a for-profit company.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a means to an end, and the ends is digital sovereignty and individual liberty and freedom, and like the ability to communicate and transfer value to people without a middleman. Like basically the whole essence of Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin completely did away with middlemen.
It goes beyond that though. It's not just for that, but also like what is ultimately the end goal, right? Like digital sovereignty and like individual liberty.
Right. That's
towards building community, right? Like
yeah, freedom. Like yeah, it's like freedom as an end in and of itself. It's like, what are you? Why are you trying to be free, right? Like, why are you yearning for freedom? And I mean, for me, it's because obviously, like, I love my fellow man, and like, I don't want them to get devoured up by the beast system. And I want, you know, people to be able to freely express themselves and not have to worry about their bank account getting frozen because they had a wrong tweet from a year ago. Yeah, I've read a couple stories about the hellish nightmare stories from the China social credit system.
oh wow.
What did it say? What was your impression? What's the key takeaways?
One of the stories was of this businessman who like something happened where he kind of got fucked by a business partner or something, and then but it all came crashing down on him, and he basically just got completely excommunicated, and people treated him like trash, and like he was struggling even with his like family to like get by. He was like cast out. He was excommunicated from like the systems. Like the China is the gatekeeper. Like in most recently, you're familiar with WeChat. Like it's like China's messenger and payment app, and but it's completely controlled by the like Chinese government. And there was a student in California that was messaging about Tiananmen Square, where like the protests where the government killed people, and they always stifle people talking about that. And he basically got his WeChat completely cut off, which is your access to everything. And then they required him to write a handwritten letter in order to reinstate his account.
What did he have to write about? Like explain himself?
I can't remember what he had to say, but it was basically like apologize. Like
cute. Okay.
Yeah, it's like elementary school. It's like Bart Simpson meme, like writing on the chalkboard, like, you know, whatever.
Oh God.
I will not curse in class again.
I
will not curse
remember
in class
when,
again.
yeah, I remember when my
Like that.
communications company got removed from Instagram in 2021 after I got a little too deep into independent political, I mean, not independent candidates, political unification movement, Independent National Union, it's called. And I got a little too deep there. I guess got reported or something. And
Oh yeah, they can't have people uniting.
no. And then wait,
They-
look, they banned my like the account on Instagram, one of those that was a little bit more outspoken, and they asked me and they gave me those reasons of like nudity, blah blah blah, just like their generic list of why they would ban an account.
Terms of service.
And then I had to take a photo of myself with a number that they provided me and send them a picture of that number with me holding that photo. Yeah, that list, that piece of paper with that number.
Yeah,
It's
making you beg for it.
But yeah, and also like kind of like this mugshot, just.
Yeah.
They never gave it back to me, but that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, in 2020, obviously it was Biden versus Trump, and Brett Weinstein started a hashtag called Unity 2020, and it like exploded for a hot second, and then the hashtag got completely removed. It got canceled.
Hashtag removed.
And it was like,
right.
That's very telling. Like, yeah, they can't have people uniting together because